Welcome to another episode of SportsVibe. I'm your host Arnav Sarkar here with Andrew Rice. Another busy episode here. This is the NBA Draft Special. We're also going to be talking some soccer, the Club World Cup, both the U.S. men's and women's team in recent action. Men's team in the Gold Cup and the women's team just had a friendly against Ireland as they start building their roster towards the 2027 World Cup. So a little bit of soccer. With a busy summer of soccer. But right now, the NBA draft, I mean, like, absolutely huge. Obviously for Rutgers fans and for Brooklyn Nets fans too. So both of us are both. So a huge draft for Rutgers and Nets fans, really. And I'm sure we'll also talk a lot about all of this on the Bells Must Ring. But we can open with obviously Dylan Harper getting selected to the Spurs, pretty much as expected. Pretty much all the mock drafts saw him going to two. There were some reports of trades potentially happening, but nobody really wanted to do that. Obviously, the Spurs have two guards in the room. They have Castle, Stephon Castle, and De'Aaron Fox. But there's you can really never have enough top high end talent on the team. And adding a guy like Dylan Harper. I mean, even if it's early bench minutes or rotating in the guards in and out, I mean, he's going to make invaluable contributions to this roster. And then, of course, playing with Victor Wembanyama, I mean, just a generational prospect, 7'5", has guard-like skills, could shoot, defensive menace at the rim, obviously, with his size. So, I mean, just a once-in-a-generation player. Pairing him with Dylan Harper and the other young guards on this roster. I mean, this Spurs team is going to be pretty dangerous. Obviously, you've followed this team, covered this team for years, or in terms of Rutgers. What's your take on Dylan Harper finally joining the Spurs officially?
Well, I think we said it in a couple previous episodes as well. Dylan on the Spurs, you're essentially adding more firepower to an already loaded keg of gunpowder.
Yeah. Yeah.
Or rather, you're adding more gunpowder to a keg full of it. And in all honesty, I think this is the best option for him. While he is starting caliber ready, or at least like strong rotational ready, with the Spurs, he's not going to be the only option where they have to rely on him to do literally everything, like his counterpart in Ace Bailey.
Yeah. I agree.
He's going to have a chance to develop. He's probably not going to be at the top of the rotation. He's probably going to be the first guy up, which perfect situation for him. He gets to sit back, learn a little bit, get some real game time experience, but in the end is not the guy immediately. So especially when you pair him with a center like Victor or Wembanyama. Oh my God, Wembanyama! I can't speak today. It's ridiculous. I had the same issues earlier.
Okay.
But when you pair him with a bona fide star like Wembanyama, it's because you think about it, he never really had a center at Rutgers. He had some acting centers, but he never had somebody big enough to step into that true big man role. Now he has somebody who can cut. He has another option who can cut inside, or he has another option rather who could play the inside. And it's not just him. That opens up lanes for him to shoot from two, cut inside himself, or even step back for a three, which his three-point shooting does need a little bit of work, but it's also not bad in any means.
Yeah.
So I think with the players he now has around him, it really opens up his skill set, because before, when he didn't have that big man who was just athletic, freaky athletic, and can go up and get a pass up the middle, it clearly affected and limited his game. So when he wanted to cut inside, he would have to do it himself. Now he doesn't have to do that. He has several other options on the board to pass out, screen, anything like that.
Yeah, certainly. I mean, obviously joining such a talented team in the Spurs. I mean, we mentioned Wembanyama, and then of course the guards. I mean, having getting to play behind De'Aaron Fox, Stephon Castle. I believe both of them are, or at least Fox has been an All-Star. Castle is also a very promising young guard. He might have also been an
What
All-Star,
did
but
he win Rookie of the Year?
I think Fox did, right?
Yeah,
Or Castle.
that's what I meant. Fox. Yeah.
Yeah. He's. I know he's been an All-Star. I'm not too sure about Stephon Castle, but both of them obviously terrific young players. And yeah, Harper, like very early on, will probably come off the bench for those will probably be the two main guys. But I mean, he'll still get quality minutes, and I guess long-term expectation, expected to find his way into the starting lineup. And he'll probably share minutes at a time with both of the two guards,
Or
Castle.
maybe they trade him. They have the excess goods
That's
now.
true.
Maybe they trade him.
Who
Maybe they trade Fox. Who knows?
potentially down
Like
the
I said,
road,
they
yeah.
have excess goods now.
Down the road, if Harper, really comes into his own, maybe even 2, 3, 4 years from now, I mean, yeah, the backcourt might be a little bit crowded, and yeah, potentially. I mean, who knows? But in the meantime, I mean, it's a great fit for Harper. Like you said, there's so much talent. He could screen, he could pass. He has a big man in the middle who's, I mean, Harper's, his dribbling is fantastic. I mean, he can kick it out, like he can get it inside. His shot, yeah, from downtown could use some work. I mean, he's 33% free on 3-point shooter, 33.3, I believe.
That's not bad by any means.
Not bad at all. I think the league average is probably around or an average 3-point shooter is probably around 35, 36%. 37, 38, you're looking at pretty good. I mean, obviously 40% and up is elite, but even 38, 39 is considered like a very solid shooter. But even 36, 37, 35%, you're looking at a very average shooter who's capable. So I mean, he's very close to that. I mean, he's not shooting 25%, 28%. So it's there. It's just not a huge facet of his game. He's more known as like a driver, cutter, like mid-range scorer type things, ball handler, facilitator. But the shot is there. I mean, we've seen it. Like he had the game winner over Seton Hall, for example. But it's definitely a part of his game. I mean, like whether he's going to be, a premier shooter or not, it remains to be seen. But we've seen, many scorers like have that as an asset of the game without it being like the most dominant part. I mean, SGA comes to mind. He's a mid-range assassin, but he has the occasional 3-point shot. I mean, Halliburton, he's a pretty good shooter, I would say, but typically he also is not known for his threes, although when he gets hot, he gets hot. So I mean, we'll see what happens with Harper, but it's definitely a part of the game that could definitely be utilized, and it'll probably develop in the NBA where 3-point shots are very, very common. But I think overall it's just going to be a great fit for Harper to play make, to score, to get experience. And I mean, obviously Popovich retired, but like the Spurs are a solid organization that they're rebuilding, but not really rebuilding, but
They're reloading.
you're reloading. I mean, I mean, they obviously they've won championships in the past. They're one of the NBA story franchises, but with Wembanyama and the young core they have, they're definitely going to be coming back strong, as is the rest of the Texas trio. Obviously the Rockets with Kevin Durant, building around him. I think they'll be pretty good. Şengün and Thompson in there as well. And then the Mavericks getting Cooper Flag alongside Anthony Davis, Kyrie Irving when everyone gets back. So all three Texas teams looking pretty interesting. But I did want to
you can see the headlines now. Number 1 versus number 2. The first time they played together, the NBA is going to market
Harper versus Flag. Yes,
they're going to market the crap out of that. Big Texas fight, number 1 versus number 2. They're going to market.
I know it's going to be. I wonder if they're. We're going to talk about the summer league schedule in just a little bit, but I don't know if they're going to end up playing together in the summer league. I feel like that would be something that they would do to see those two, but I don't see anything just yet. I know I wanted to talk about the summer league. I mean, seeing Mavs, we could just do it now. Why not? I mean, opening night with the summer league is Mavs versus Lakers, so we're gonna get to see Cooper Flag in action against Bronny James, who's gonna be in that lineup. Spurs versus the 76ers, so we'll see Dylan Harper's first game. I believe the Spurs and Jazz are scheduled for a game in the summer league as well. So we're gonna get to see Harper and Bailey going at it. So that should be like a lot of fun as well. And then for the Nets, Thunder, Wizards, Knicks, Magic on the schedule. So 3 contenders, but obviously none of the stars are going to really be there. We'll get to like what this all means for Brooklyn, like in a second. But I did want to talk about the other Rutgers draftee, Ace Bailey, drafted to the Jazz at number 5. A little bit unexpected. Obviously, he tried to duck or try to. He wanted to end up in Washington, Brooklyn, or even New Orleans, but Utah not really his preferred destination. It's a little bit complicated because he seems to kind of be more or less like okay with the move at this point, but he hasn't flown out with Walter Clayton, who I love what the Jazz did. They're getting 2 of the top scorers in the draft. But I mean, he hasn't flown out. He's expected by Monday, but I mean, it seems like every time he talks to the media, he seems like relatively okay with it. But it seems like his agency or his agent, Omar Cooper, and his representation's kind of pushing him the wrong way on this, and I just don't really like that because Ace has always been, he's always conducted himself with high character, but this whole process has just been a tricky one. He hasn't worked out with many teams. He's tried to influence his own destination, or his team has, and maybe do a little bit of that in the pre-draft process, like somewhat understandable. But at this point, like it's like I don't really understand why this is still going on. I mean, he's been drafted to the Jazz, like he should play for them. I mean, it's an NBA. Okay. Looks like we're back on that.
But it looks like you completely disconnected there.
Yeah. Damn. Do you want to just like start this over again, or like should I edit it? I don't know. I don't usually do that, but you could just do what you usually do and just edit it out, or
Yeah.
All right. Yeah. Anyway, so I guess back to the point about Ace Bailey and the Utah Jazz. Yeah, I don't really like know what to really take of this because like it's just not really been going the right way. I mean, it seems like on one hand he's kind of okay with it, and he looked a little bit disappointed on draft night, but then he spoke to the media and he looked to kind of be fine, but he still hasn't shown up. So it's just like I don't really know what the plan is. Obviously, yeah. I mean, he didn't want to go to the Jazz. I believe the team he really didn't want to go to was the Sixers because he wouldn't have been in the starting role. But Utah's still a place where you could get shots. It's a young
think he'd
team.
rather be in Philadelphia than be in New Orleans. I'll give him that much.
Probably Philly over. I don't know. Yeah, you're probably right. But the teams he was rumored to were or he wanted to were Washington, Brooklyn, and New Orleans. But I think a heavier emphasis on DC and the Nets because of the East Coast.
Did he come out and say he wanted to go to these teams?
I think so. Or I mean, the rumors were saying that like it was all over.
I heard the rumors were he wanted to stay somewhere in like
between
the
Atlanta
Metro New
and
York
New York
area.
is what I heard. Atlanta and New York. So yeah, I mean, but then that would also include teams like Philly and Charlotte. But I think he wanted a star role. Like I don't know. See, the thing is, if Charlotte picked him, like would he have the same reaction? Probably not. But because that's still an East Coast team, and they still have, as bad as they are, they probably still have more talent than the Jazz. Like I mean, the Jazz said they have like Markkanen. I don't even know like what's going. They were like the worst team in the league, and I guess you're gonna pick whatever player like makes you a better team, and they did their research on him, and like I mean, they're not going to back down on this process if Ace doesn't want to come. But I don't know. I think Ace Bailey, I think he's going to end up showing up there. I don't really see any other option. I mean, like, it's not like they're going to trade him to a different team if he wants to. Like, this could get ugly if he
Well,
doesn't.
they might, depending on what that other team offers.
Well, potentially, yeah. I don't know, but it just doesn't seem like Utah's, management wants to do that. I mean, if they really knew about, like, if they really, consider that in their decision making, they wouldn't have picked him in the first place. But they did. They said they wanted him. So I don't know. It's just like a really messy situation. But I mean, you got to do what you got to do, I guess, at that point. So it's just, I don't know. Like, what do you think is gonna, like? I don't really see a way that he doesn't end up showing up to Utah. But at the same time, like, you never know. I guess, like, a team could make a post-draft trade for him if he ends up adamantly not wanting to play for them. Things like that. But I don't really expect that to happen. Like, I feel like he's gonna end up playing there. It's probably just a matter of time. But the thing is, summer league practice starts on Monday, so yeah, I mean, I guess that's where it gets kind of interesting. So, like, we'll see. I mean, I guess we'll have more for you within the next few days on that, whether he does show up or not, or decides to try to hold out, or force a trade to a different team. But I don't know. It's very unprecedented when these kinds of things happen. I mean, obviously, like, the example that comes to mind in the NFL is Eli Manning, because he got drafted by the Chargers, forced to draft day trade to the Giants, and the rest is history for Giants fans, I guess. Hall of Famer now, 2 Super Bowls.
And the rest is misery for Chargers fans.
Yeah, pretty much. Well, they did get Phillip Rivers for quite a few years, but yeah, obviously not the same level of success. But I've never really, other than that, it's very rare where a player tries to control their draft fate. I mean, we've seen it end up so much more horribly for Shedeur Sanders, who basically ended up on one of the teams that could have drafted him at like 144 and lost millions. And Ace Bailey, I mean, getting drafted at 5 and didn't really lose a ton of money. Like, if I were him, I would take the deal. Like, I don't see, like, I mean, yeah, Utah's obviously not the best place to live and whatnot, and kind of sucks. But I mean, given the fact that he wanted to be on a team that might not have been that good, that where he can have a starring role, like, I don't see why Utah would be out of the equation on that. Like, I mean, the teams he had in mind were not much better. I mean, the Wizards and Nets, very similar in terms of their basketball roster. In fact, they might have more talent than the Jazz. So, like, I really don't like see too much of a problem, other than, like, the location isn't ideal, I guess. But if you're getting paid millions to play basketball, like, I don't know, like, you know what I mean? And I also just don't really see, like, too many options, because I don't think Utah's gonna, like, back down on a holdout situation, because otherwise they wouldn't have picked him in the first place, or they would have, and I'm seeing that his agency, they apparently spoke to some people, and they said that, that he does want to play with the Jazz, and they kind of shut down the rumors about all of this, which is a good sign. Shams Charania also said that the Jazz won't be trading Bailey, so and his representation wants to make it clear that he will end up playing for the Jazz. So hopefully that is true. Obviously
it kind of seems like this is a little bit blown out of proportion.
Yeah, I think it's like people are kind of making it a bigger deal than what it is, because yeah, I mean, a lot of players sometimes don't work out for teams, but I mean, obviously he didn't work out for, like, any teams. But I think he's, yeah, like I said, I think he's gonna end up playing for the Jazz. It's just, maybe it's just taking him a few days to get used to everything and whatnot. But it seems like he himself, like, seems to be in pretty, obviously wasn't super thrilled initially, but overall he seems to be pretty okay with the move and everything. So yeah, we'll see. I mean, in terms of the fit in Utah, I mean, they're definitely rebuilding. I mean, Lauri Markkanen's pretty solid player, Walker Kessler, but they're, like, really, really devoid of talent. I mean, they have Jordan Clarkson and Colin Sexton at the guard position. Ace Bailey as a shooting guard, small forward. He could easily slide in the lineup and get pretty much what he wanted in terms of. Oh, well, I mean, Walter Clayton Jr. is coming into the team too. I mean, I think they paired the best shot makers in the draft together. I mean, Walter Clayton, a huge reason behind why the Florida Gators won the national championship this year, and pairing him with Ace Bailey. I mean, Ace Bailey could slide into that 3 spot very easily. And obviously we know what he could do, what he's done at Rutgers, making difficult shots. I mean, attacking the rim, 3-level scorer. I mean, just terrific player. So, yeah, I mean, like, I feel like once things end up going for the Jazz, I mean, like, I feel like, him and Clayton could be a, dynamic duo as rookies that could go a long way for this team. I mean, they wanted to turn things around, and I think they have their ability to do that with these 2 scorers. And then selecting another Big Ten player, John Tonje from Wisconsin. I remember, watching him play, watching Big Ten basketball too. So that's another player going to the same team. So yeah, I mean, I think they'll be pretty. Their rebuild is off to a good start, and are. I think all 3 of those players can contribute. I'm really excited about the pairing of Clayton and Bailey in particular. I think, pairing 2 of the most dynamic scorers in the class together is going to do wonders for this franchise in the long run.
Like I said, I think that whole thing with Bailey before the draft is overblown. I think it was somebody at the Night Report that said he's probably not working out with teams because he's received assurances from one team that he's going to get drafted by them. And that probably was the Utah Jazz, if not the Washington Wizards. So he probably wasn't concerned about where he was going to go. So,
right.
In all honesty, like, he didn't seem thrilled to go to the Jazz. And I assume it was the Wizards that told him, like, hey, we're going to draft you. But
that's interesting. Oh, it could be that, yeah.
In Bailey's, like, mind, at least, he's going to go out there. He's going to play. I mean,
right.
Even his agent assured us of that.
Yeah. Yeah, and they've kind of been the ones behind this whole push otherwise. But yeah, even they want, fans to know that he's going to play for their team, for the Jazz. But yeah, I mean, yeah, I think this is going to be kind of a non-story in like a few days. Like, I don't really see it growing into anything more than what it is. So yeah.
And then here's what's going to happen, and I count you on that. He's going to have one bad game in the summer league, and all of the war pigs are going to surround him. And then he's going to get to the NBA and be the bright spot on a horrible Jazz team. And then people are going to be like, oh, he's wasted talent over there. That's how it's going to go. Book it. Guaranteed. That's how it's going to go. I mean, that's what happened with Jamar Chase. Jamar Chase dropped 5 passes in practice, and everyone, during his rookie season, he dropped 5 passes in practice, and everyone was like, oh my God, the Bengals were so stupid for drafting this guy.
I remember because the ball was, like a little different in the NFL and college, and he was having some trouble with that, I think. But once he got the hang of it,
Patrick Mahomes looked terrible in training camp too. And Denver fans were ragging on the Chiefs for drafting Patrick Mahomes and having him look awful.
Absolutely.
3 Super Bowls later, here we are. So that's what's gonna happen. They're gonna the War Pigs are gonna surround him if he has one bad game in the summer league, and then after that, in the NBA, he's gonna be the bright spot on a probably piss poor Utah Jazz team, and they're going to be like, oh, somebody should trade for him. He's wasted talent.
Yeah.
He's wasted in Utah. And then,
Yeah. Well, yeah, I don't know. It's an interesting one. I mean, obviously, if you're the Utah Jazz, you got to do what you got to do, and they like what they saw. I mean, he's definitely a good fit in the roster. As a Nets fan, I feel a little bit upset, and even for that they were not able to swing a trade for him. They didn't really even attempt to, and this was probably going to be a good segue into or next point. But as an Ace Bailey fan, like I would have wanted to see him where he wanted to be, whether that's the Nets or even the Wizards or even the Pelicans potentially. But I mean, it's a little upsetting that they've kind of forced him to go to the Jazz. So like I could understand like the struggles with that, even
I don't
beyond
know where
like
you're getting the
basketball.
Pelicans from, though. I have
No,
never heard
he's
once
been in the
anyone.
reports like the Wizards, Pelicans, and Nets, but it's been more preferred. Like the Wizards and the Nets are like higher on that list than New Orleans was. But yeah, I mean, so anyway, I mean, like, yeah, I also like a little bummed that he got selected by the Jazz, especially given that he didn't really want to. And then, of course, as a Nets fan, I would have wanted him here on the East Coast. For Ace Bailey's perspective too, whether it was Brooklyn or Washington, I would have wanted to see him where he wanted to be. I'm glad he didn't end up on Philly because number one, I'm not a big Sixers fan. Obviously, number two, like he would have been behind several guys like Paul George and Embiid, and they get injured all the time, and well, that's a whole different story. But I don't know. I mean, they could have probably been pretty solid, but like, I'm glad he didn't end up over there. But Utah Jazz, we'll see how it goes. Like I said, I'm excited about the pairing between him and Clayton. Walter Clayton Jr. I think that's gonna be very solid. So yeah, we'll definitely see them both in summer league. We'll see Dylan Harper in summer league. We'll see a lot of these guys in summer league, and we'll probably see a lot of Brooklyn Nets in summer league too. I mean, a lot of the guys in summer league might end up just starting on the actual team next year because they drafted five NBA record 5 players in the draft. Never been done before. I really thought they were going to try to make a trade for Ace Bailey with all that draft capital, or at least somebody get into the lottery, but they decided nope, we're just going to hold on to the picks and select guys. And the crowd reaction, the Nets fans reaction. I mean, the GMs, the draft room was celebrating, but reactions on Twitter, reactions from Brooklyn fans, NBA in general, just like really shocked at like what they did. But it's not like all horrible. There's it's mixed reactions, but I just feel like taking Igor Demin, he's a great passer. 6'9", he has guard skills. At least he can handle the ball, but he plays point guard, but he's a very very tall point guard with a lot of weaknesses in his game. He's not really a great shooter, although he's a streaky shooter. I mean, sometimes I think he was a decent shooter. He had an injury, and then it kind of became a very bad shooter. Then in the combine, he impressed, but he's really known for his passing. He's not really the best 3-point shooter or defender. He's a little bit light. So there's a lot of questions around him. And then they got Nolan Traore at 19, very like a speedy guard. It just feels like they drafted 3 of the same types of guards. I don't even necessarily mind getting Demin at 8, although definitely not the player Nets fans really wanted. I mean, I've seen Fears, Knipple, Ace Bailey, even Kaman Malawach, who some Nets fans I'm sure would have had a problem with that too, but that would have still been, I think, a better pick. But with all that said, I'm not even so opposed to getting Demin at 8. I guess what I'm opposed to is getting 3 taller point guards who all kind of struggle with defense and shooting, outside shooting. We got like the same archetype in 3 different guys, and it looks like what they're trying to do is get the next franchise point guard, and they're trying the trial by error process here. So I guess the hope is with all these picks, some of them are going to end up rising to the top and becoming a long-term staple. And I guess they decided, well, we have all these picks, we might as well use them for that reason. But I don't know, I'm not seeing good things about Ben Saraff. I'm not really Nolan Traore. I think is going to be a good prospect. He looks to be very speedy guard, ball handling. Demin, his passes are dazzling. So he has size, and if he develops his jump shot, I think he could become a solid player. Potentially start at point guard for the Nets, or maybe even move to like a point forward position, kind of like Ben Simmons or someone like that. But I don't know. It just wasn't really the draft I wanted. That being said, the last 2 picks of it, Drake Powell at 22. He's a 3-and-D wing, very athletic, great catch and shoot player. So that might make up for a lot of the lack of shooting that these point guards have. So I think he'll have a good role carved out for him. And then the pick that I think a lot of Nets fans really did like was at the end, Danny Wolf, obviously Big Ten fans will know him from Michigan. Kind of a modern big man, kind of somewhat of an outside shot. He has guard-like handles and passing ability as well, so he could definitely play on the outside, stretch the floor, as well as being dominant on the inside, 6'11". So that pick I really do like. But all in all, I mean, like, it just kind of doesn't really feel like the best draft for the Nets. I mean, I see what their strategy is. I just don't. I wouldn't even have really minded it if it was just a meme. But pairing, like, getting three of them, like, I just don't. I don't know. I mean, it's just like I'm not 100% sure like why that was the idea there.
This
But
feels a little
you know,
bit like throwing stuff at a wall and
and
hoping it
seeing if it
sticks.
sticks, right?
It's
Yeah,
like, in all honesty, if you think about it, you have 5 draft picks.
yeah.
I don't care who you are. Chances are, one of them works out.
I mean, they don't. Yeah, I mean, they almost have to. Like, you know.
It's
So
like it's even if you're not very good at selecting people in the draft, which
yeah,
the Nets have proven to be just okay at.
right.
Um, they threw so many picks out there.
Yeah,
Somebody's got to work out, right?
yeah, and
Like,
hopefully, like, at least between the 3 point guards, like, one of them will. I mean, I would hope for it to be like Demean. Like, as critical as I was of him after seeing that, like, I think he has a lot of upside. Like, I mean, like, if he can get his 3 point shooting going, like, I think he really needs to work on his jump shot, because if he could become like a scorer, that opens up his ability as, like, being a scorer will kind of help him find his role. I mean, he's already a great passer. He can handle the basketball. If he really needs to improve his shooting and his defense, but if he can, he could end up becoming a very interesting player with a solid skill set. I mean, you don't really see a lot of 6'9" point guards in the NBA, and a lot of them are typically the players who don't really do a lot of other things well. Like, you think of Ben Simmons. I mean, like, all defense, passing. He pretty much, as a healthy player, does everything but shoot the basketball. But I mean, if you have Demean, like, able to shoot and handle and pass, that could be a very solid archetype. But if he doesn't really do anything but pass well, it's gonna cause problems. And that's kind of the thing. Like, because Traore and Saraf are also pass first point guards. So it's just like I said, it feels like they got the similar type of player like 3 times, and, like, I guess they're hoping one of them sticks, and one of them will become the starting point guard. Like, they almost have to at this point. And then Powell, I think, could probably find himself as a solid bench player for the team. Wolf, I think, could become a solid bench player, maybe even a starter at power forward or something like that. A good fit. Maybe even a backup center for Claxton, assuming they hold on to him. Yeah, so I mean, it's very interesting. But in terms of free agency for the Nets, Cam Thomas, obviously, that's a big priority for the Nets. I think, I've seen, contract rumors, 4 years, 100 million, things like that. Like, he obviously wants to sign with the Nets, and they wanted to sign him. So it's going to be interesting, because Cam Thomas is known for one thing, and he's which is scoring, shooting. I mean, he's just like pretty much as good as it gets, in terms of, maybe not as good as it gets, but he's almost primarily known for being a scoring shooting guard. So pairing the pass first point guards with him, I think, is actually going to be a very good move. And I really hope they end up signing him. The Nets by far have the most cap space in the NBA. Not many of the other teams in the NBA even have much of anything to work with. And the Nets can pretty much easily match it. So I definitely expect them to be back in Brooklyn. Yeah, I mean, a volume scorer. It's like, basically the strategy here is going to be these other players that are pass happy are going to try to get him the ball, and he's going to end up scoring, which is going to be pretty fun to see. I mean, like, so yeah, I mean, I think that's going to be the Nets strategy. Other than that, I mean, Cam Johnson, it feels like he's been on the trade block for like forever. Like, he's been, but I feel like the Nets are going to retain him as well, because I feel like if they would have made a move, like, they would have made it by now. Like, I don't know what, maybe not, but, like, it just doesn't seem like they're in any hurry to get rid of Cam Johnson, as much as fans may or may not want them to, which I don't, I like him as a player, but I feel like we could get something good. And, I don't know, given that he's just been on the trade block for forever, it's just like, is that going to happen? I mean, he's a 6'8" forward. I mean, he could score, he could shoot. Like, having him on the team, I mean, if you have Thompson, not Thompson, Cam Thomas, Cam Johnson, Nick Claxton, or even potentially just Thomas and Claxton to build around. You slide in these other guys in the lineup. I mean, this is going to still be a rebuilding team. By no means are they going to be like contenders like anytime soon, but they have put together a lineup that could at least be somewhat competitive and kind of fun, I guess. But I don't know. I mean, what I've basically seen from like a lot of the takes is that like a lot of these players are going to be, reluctant to score, which is going to, basically open up more shots for Cam Thomas, which if you want to put a positive spin on this draft for the Nets, I think that's probably what it's going to be. So we'll see what happens in free agency, but looks like it's going to be the Cam Thomas show. Hopefully they get this point guard situation ironed out, and then I think Powell is going to be a good fit because every team could use a 3-and-D guy. He's also an athletic wing. He can get to the rim. I feel like fans are going to love a player like that. I know I will. And then Danny Wolf, I feel like, was just a terrific pick at 27 to close it out. Like, obviously, you've seen what he could do being in the Big Ten. So, like, having him on this team is going to be a great way to close it out for Brooklyn. They traded their 36th pick away. Seems like that pick bounced around a couple of times, ending up with the Lakers. We'll get to that, and then in the free agency portion of the or the post, whatever you call it, after the draft, they signed Grant Nelson, who played with Alabama. Solid player there. Liked what he could do. So he's going to be in the summer league competing for a two-way. Drew Timme, who really burst onto the scene late last season for Brooklyn, is going to be in summer league. So yeah, I mean, those are going to be some other guys to look out for. But I mean, all 5 of these guys are going to get run in the summer league. It feels like, I mean, like it feels like these, the summer league guys, like that's basically like half their team right there. Like typically, like summer league guys aren't always guys that end up playing in the regular season, but it feels like, they could probably roll out a starting 5 with like their draft picks and just like see how it goes. You know what I mean? Like, I mean,
Yeah, really.
Which is really interesting, right? So
it's kind of crazy to think about.
Yeah, I mean, we might as well. I mean, Nets fans are gonna really be wanting to watch summer league to see who ends up making this roster, who doesn't, how these guys look. Because I mean, chances are this becomes like the bulk of like like the team going forward. I mean, around obviously guys like Cam Thomas, Cam Johnson, potentially Claxton. Timmy, I think is gonna he kind of burst on coming up from the G League. He's gonna be, if not in the starting lineup, definitely in the rotation. So yeah. Well, I mean that's pretty much all the Nets talk I wanted to do. Obviously, just in terms of the NBA draft itself, beyond the Brooklyn Nets and the Rutgers Scarlet Knights guys, obviously Cooper Flag joining at 1, undisputed #1 prospect, can do a little bit of everything. I think he's going to be a great fit with the Mavericks. And Edgecombe going to Philly at 3, I think that's the move I would have made too. I mean, he's like an athletic guard. Philadelphia has a lot of forward depth. I think that was the right pick. Konkin Nipple, who I think he's a terrific player, shooter, ball movement. Going to the Hornets at 4, kind of rose up the draft boards a bit. I mean, some people saw him going a bit later, but recent mocks had him high up. I think, like I said, any NBA team could use a shooter, but he's definitely more than that as well. So I think Charlotte's he could fit easily in that lineup with LaMelo Ball. Trey Johnson. Speaking of shooting, going to the Wizards, I mean, he's like, his percentages are just extremely high. Like, I think he's a near 40% 3-point shooter. So I mean, DC's got like a good player in him, just a great scorer, shooter overall. Can attack the rim as well. He has size. He's 6'6", so I think he's gonna be pretty solid. 40% 3-point shooter, 87 foul shooter. So I mean, that's pretty solid. I mean, obviously they wanted potentially to get Ace Bailey, but they've got a good scorer. And then Jeremiah Fears going to the Pelicans. I thought he was a terrific player, point guard from Oklahoma. I wanted the Nets to have him. I saw him in a lot of mocks. That's another player I was looking out for. But the Zero Fears jersey is going to go pretty hard, honestly, like just because of the name. But I think he's going to be a good player for them. So those are like all the top picks. And then I guess in terms of surprise picks, the Blazers ended up selecting Yang Hansen, like a Chinese 7'2" center, who was supposed to not even be drafted, I think, or something like that. I think he was like a massive reach, so they're definitely betting on him and what he could do. The China has not had like another star player. They've had a few, but they haven't had like a Yao Ming type player in a very long time. So, and then another Big Ten scorer that we might know, Kasparis Jakusionis from Illinois, going to the Miami Heat at 20. I mean, I think he was a very solid player, but he was kind of like up and down. He had a lot of turnovers and stuff like that. But I think going to the Heat is a good fit for Jakusionis, obviously Illinois point guard. And then I guess just some second round notes. The entire Duke starting five ended up getting drafted, including Malawach, Tyrese Proctor, Sion James, and then of course Cooper Flagg and Nipple. But the other two going, Proctor and their other guy, and Sion James going in the second round. Sion James joining Knipple in Charlotte. Kalkbrenner going to the Hornets. From Creighton. Janai Broom, who really had a big NCAA tournament run with Auburn, going to the Sixers, and then Edu Thero, who was a star player for Arkansas, formerly Kansas with Calipari, going to the Lakers. That was the Nets 36 pick that ended up moving around a couple times, finds his way in LA. And yeah, a second round was kind of like a lot of other guys that maybe didn't hear so much about, but those are just like the highlights of guys that you might have heard about who started in college basketball. So yeah, I mean, I think that pretty much covers the NBA draft portion of this podcast. Some other NBA news I wanted to discuss. Masai Ujiri, longtime Raptors executive, is out in Toronto, which is kind of surprising considering, I mean, he was the one who turned around that franchise. They won a title in 2019. He's
the most stunning title of all time, might I add.
Right, with Kawhi Leonard. I mean, just the rebuild that they've had. I mean, going from kind of a relatively irrelevant team to a contender, and then kind of now they've kind of become kind of back to like kind of irrelevant again in a way. They've kind of definitely fallen off. I mean, losing DeMar DeRozan, Kyle Lowry, Kawhi Leonard, they haven't really figured out their path. Obviously, adding Brandon Ingram, it's a solid scorer. But speaking of Toronto news that Rutgers fans might be interested in, Cliff Amore signed a UDFA deal with the Raptors. This was announced today, so that's a very big news. Obviously, Cliff Amore transferring to Alabama after 3 years with or I think 4 years with the Scarlet Knights, and obviously Rutgers fans enjoy having him on the team. So really exciting news to see him in the NBA. Another former Scarlet Knight. Going to probably be in the G League, just like Ron Harper Jr. with the Pistons, although he ended up getting called up towards the end of the regular season. But
and he did well. Yeah. He did well. Maybe he'll get himself permanently on an NBA team.
Yeah, potentially. I mean, I saw I believe the Pistons in the regular season game, the last one against the Bucks before the playoffs started, he was actually in the starting lineup when they were playing. Well, not starting lineup, but yeah, they were playing a lot of bench guys. It was the end of the season. He got some run, and he was hitting some shots. So, cool to see. In terms of Cliff, I mean, a lot of people didn't really, it feels like he kind of has some limitations with his game. Obviously, he's great at what he does. He's a great rim protector. He could, obviously score the basketball. A lot of people didn't really see him panning out so hard or so well in the NBA. But I think going to Alabama, definitely he showed his what he was capable of. They used him almost exclusively at the rim, and I'm happy to see him get an opportunity going to Toronto. So we'll see how that ends up going. Obviously, and he wanted, the whole goal, for him was to make the NBA after college and everything. And I think a lot of people saw him, going overseas, but he's going to get his opportunity here. So I think, given that he doesn't really have the shooting range and the ball handling skills, and he's more of a traditional center, I think he's going to have to do what he does really well, which is, being a great defender, finishing at the rim, blocking shots, which, if he could do all of that, I mean, there's a chance that maybe he ends up making the roster, but we'll have to see. I mean, I'm definitely excited to see what he could do. Maybe we'll also see him in NBA Summer League, because that's going to be his chance to make a mark on the roster and the coaching staff for sure.
Hopefully, right? Who did the Pistons play in the Summer League?
The Pistons.
Who did the Raptors play? Sorry.
I don't know, I have to look, but probably some fun teams. But they announced the summer league schedule, I guess league wide, but I think each team did it separately. So let me see real quick. The Denver Nuggets, their first game's against the Chicago Bulls, and then they have the Magic, the Nuggets, and the Warriors. Oh, and their first round pick, Colin Murray Boyles. That was a funny story because I think he said the F word when he joined the team or something like that. But and then Elijah Martin coming on. I think he was a former FAU player, and in addition to Florida, and then Chucky Hepburn from Wisconsin, another Big Ten guy there. So yeah, we'll see. I mean, Cliff Amore probably going to be in the mix as well. So yeah. Anyway, I mean that's really exciting for Rutgers. Rutgers news. I'm sure me and you will talk about more of that on Bells. So that pretty much brings us to the end of this NBA segment here. A lot of NBA draft recap, obviously covering the Nets here, covering Rutgers, and everything else going on. Did want to talk about the NHL briefly. The main news being the NHL and the Players Association agreed to a 4-year extension of the CBA, which is good because there won't be any holdouts, things like that. Collective bargaining agreement. There's other changes in the mix, but the biggest one is the agreement to an 84-game regular season and a shortened preseason starting in 2026-27. So adding 2 more games onto the regular season here. I know the NFL usually, and they've gone from 16 to 17. There's a lot of talks about them going to 18, but the NHL going from 82 to 84. I believe there's some other changes that they're going to make. They're going to get rid of the LTIR loophole, and they're going to have emergency goalies. They're going to mandate that, or have an emergency goalie every team. So there's other changes that are going to be made, but obviously the big one, the 84 game schedule is huge. I think they're going to have a playoff salary cap, so it's going to be some interesting stuff. I believe the draft is also coming up in the NHL as well, so that I think that's actually going to be tomorrow. And the projected first pick is Matthew Schaefer. Your Islanders actually have that first pick in the NHL draft, which, just like the NBA draft, they had pretty low odds. I believe they were like 11th or something. So now they ended up climbing the ladder and winning the lottery. So yeah, I mean, what's your take on all this, like this NHL stuff, the 84 game season, and the draft, free agency, all that good stuff going on?
Well, first of all, my Islanders drafting first. People are already getting Schaefer jerseys.
Nice.
I don't know how I feel about that. In all honesty, though, I will say I think the hockey season should be condensed a bit. Hot take there, but I think it's too long.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I feel like the NBA regular season is kind of like the same thing. It feels like it kind of just drags out, and not that many people really care about it as much. And then they started the NBA Cup, which people care even less about, and that's like bizarre. And it just feels like it goes on a long time. And then we saw what happened in the playoffs. I mean, the Pacers, the Cavs finished first, and the Pacers were the ones to make the finals. But at the same time, the Thunder also finished first, and they won the championship. So it's just a long season, I guess, to say the least. Yeah.
The NBA Cup is stupid.
Anyone will agree with that.
You won the NBA Cup, that means nothing.
Yeah, it's just I don't even know why they I think the reason they created that was actually because NBA regular seasons ratings were kind of low, so they wanted to introduce something to make it a little bit more interesting. Because before December, Christmas is a huge NBA day, but really before that, not too many people watch it. I mean, football's going on, so
you're not going to get rid of football.
Yeah, exactly. A little ratings boost. People don't really tend to care about the NBA till at least January, February, and then even then NFL playoffs are going on. So really All-Star weekend, and then you have the final 2 months of the NBA season, and to have teams are trying to tank. I feel like it's as bad as it might be in the NHL. It's a bit worse in the NBA. But
you want to fix that problem? Start both the sports later, have them go further into the summer when there is no sports to compete with.
Exactly. Can you imagine remember the bubble playoffs where it was going on in the summer, and even the year after that when the finals went into July, that whole run, especially being Nets fans and the Nets making it, how far they did, it felt like it was so cool because we were off from school. There wasn't like a whole lot going on at that time of the year, and we were watching basketball and hockey go deep into the summer. That was a really fun run. So I mean, even if they just move the seasons back like a month or two and then have like the finals in like July, August, like I feel like that would be a way to get more eyeballs on the product, because September, October, first of all, the baseball playoffs are going on, football is underway, the college football is underway. I mean, all of that stuff is pretty big. So I mean, and then the NBA, NHL comes back in October after a long off season. Like, does anyone really, like, maybe opening day gets a little bit of buzz, because it's back, but then after that it's just kind of like whatever. Like, it's so early. The season feels like a marathon. Like, why are we adding 2 more games to the Stanley Cup regular, like NHL regular season? Like, it's just more money, I guess. More, you know what I mean? Like, yeah, more revenue for the teams or stuff like that, which I guess is important. But anyway, that's the major news coming out of the NHL.
Oh, hold on. I did have something I want to mention that recently the Islanders traded Noah Dobson over to the Montreal Canadiens, right? For essentially 2 first-rounders this year and a prospect and a prospect as well. We're talking about in one off season, the Islanders had almost no future. They had no prospects coming up the ranks. Really, they had like nobody. Now they have 3 first-round picks to play with, a new prospect, and more to add on top of that too, because they're going to start selling off even more older pieces. We're talking about a team that 1 year ago would have been stuck in like complete mediocrity, barely making the playoffs, getting bounced in the first round, to a team that's now, I want to say, like, is set to like go in a full-blown rebuild, because we thought we were going to be stuck in mediocrity for 5 years now.
Yeah.
Now all of a sudden, not only are we preparing to rebuild, we're ready to start now.
Yeah.
We have our goalie locked up long term. We have Barzal to build around for a while. And most of the old guard they sold for picks, prospects, and whatever.
Right.
Now we're finally rid of a lot of the albatross contracts that Lou Lamoriello signed for us. And we're pretty much ready to make an instant rebound on that. Not an instant rebound, but we're expected to be a lot further along in the rebuild than we should be for how long the rebuild's been going on.
Yeah. It's been like a few seasons now, I guess, where they've...
The thing is, those seasons in between the Eastern Conference Finals run and now, they weren't really rebuilding because
they're still like kind of in the playoffs too. So like, yeah,
they couldn't rebuild. They had too many top heavy contracts. They had no prospects coming up the wings. They sold whatever prospects they had for players to be able to push the cup window a little bit longer, which didn't work out.
Right.
So now they're like, they didn't have prospects. They didn't really have picks. They didn't have much of a future. And what we thought was going to be more spinning the tires for like the next 3 or 4 years, at least now they're going to start bringing in a bunch of young talent to aid these vets that are in the prime of their careers.
Yeah, no, I totally agree with that. It's good for the Islanders. Another team that's had a lot of lottery luck with the NHL is the Devils. I mean, I think they won the lottery like 3 times in the past 10 years, and I think that's how they got like Jack Hughes and some other guys. But some of them aren't even like on the team anymore, right?
Yeah, that's my
like
point.
Taylor Hall is not. He's been bouncing around all over the place. I forgot who the other lottery guys were for New Jersey, but
I'm pretty sure Hughes was.
I think Hughes, Jack Hughes was, I believe too. So I mean, he's there, which is good. But he was injured for like the playoffs this year, which was like very unfortunate. But speaking of the Devils, I mean they traded Eric Holla to the Predators, which was a big offseason move. Looks like they're looking for some replacements on or some additions to their forward lineup, including they're looking at Mikael Granlund, who's expected to hit free agency. Dallas Stars, Claude Giroux, longtime Flyer, so last season with Ottawa. So, and that's, kind of on the back end of his career. So, looks like the Devils are going to try to keep, or they might end up getting rid of Cody Glass. So, who kind of ended up playing a few games in the regular season and in the playoffs, but, not such a big impact. The Devils end up having 2 second rounders, a third, 2 fourths, and 2 sixths. So we'll see what they end up doing. Obviously, I think free agency, the big story is like the top guys on Florida, Sam Bennett, Brian Marchand, who both obviously we talked about this a little last time, but had huge impacts on the Florida Panthers Cup run. So Florida's going to try to do everything they can to retain both of them and their defenseman Aaron Ekblad. And then Mitch Marner from the Toronto Maple Leafs is going to be another big name on the market. Toronto's just, they have had their struggles in the playoffs, to say the least. I mean, they've had a lot of talent like Mitch Marner, Austin Matthews, their whole core. And they had the Florida Panthers kind of on the ropes. I mean, they're up 2-0 in the series. They were probably looking to take game 3. They were up 3-1, and then they lost. And, they still kind of had a chance to win the series, tying it up 3-3, despite how bad game 5 was. But getting blown out twice in 3 games in front of your home fans, 6-1, it's just like, I mean, it's one thing to lose in a hard-fought 7-game series. Like, that's still respectable. But, like, getting embarrassed and not even, like, playing your best is just like humiliating and disgraceful, and I'd be sick if I was like a Leafs fan. But regardless, I mean, in terms of Mitch Marner, looks like he's the big name in this class. So we'll see what happens. I'm reading a prediction article where teams that want to get him, or he could end up on, are the Vegas Golden Knights, the Carolina Hurricanes, and the Utah Mammoth, who actually recently changed their name from the hockey club to the Mammoth. And I was like wondering who's the Utah Mammoth, and are they a team that has not started playing yet? But no, they did play last year's the Utah Hockey Club, and now they're trying to end up with more players. So I don't even remember them doing like well last season, because they were kind of towards the bottom but not at the bottom of the league. But we'll see what happens. But obviously Mitch Marner is going to be the big name in free agency this year. And then the 3 of the Panthers. I mean, if anyone can get their hands on one of those guys, I mean, that would be huge. I mean, Marchand, Bennett, and Ekblad. It'd be interesting and kind of funny if Marchand ended up going to Toronto, because I've heard there's some interest, because he's been like the Maple Leafs killer with the Bruins for many years. Obviously this year is Florida as well. So yeah, those are many of the top names in the Stanley Cup or in the NHL free agency.
If you can't beat them, make them join you.
Yeah, I'm also seeing John Tavares, who a longtime Islander, for current Maple Leaf, on the free agency list as well. So we'll see what happens with that. I mean, and then like as I mentioned, Granlund, Giroux, who the Devils are looking at. So we'll see what ends up happening there as well. But in any case, free agency about to get underway in the NHL. Same thing with the NBA. I mean, this is a huge time for free agency, which seems already to have kind of gotten started, but I guess the deals won't be official until July 1st, and then we'll see more of that, of the craziness, hopefully, go on there, because NBA free agency is a blockbuster like no other. So if, in case that happens, we might have a little special to discuss, but I feel like the big move already happened with Kevin Durant getting traded to the Rockets. So that was probably like the big blockbuster, but all right, well, I mean, that covers NBA Stanley Cup. Summer League's going to be a lot of fun. I can't wait for that. Seeing all these young prospects in action, especially with the interest we have in the Nets and in our Rutgers guys. But I guess I did want to end the episode here with some of the soccer action that's been going on around the country in recent weeks. The Gold Cup is progressing on to the knockout stage. Seems like the major surprise with the Gold Cup was Jamaica not doing as well as some people might have thought. They're typically one of the better teams in the CONCACAF, but the 3 biggest teams Mexico, the US, and Canada all moving on. So this roster being very MLS heavy because a lot of the top players of the US men's team, Christian Pulisic and Weston McKennie, are either injured, recovering, or with their team for the Club World Cup. Their new manager, Mauricio Pochettino, has looked to a younger roster or younger players to try to find young talent who could be on the 2026 World Cup roster, which is next year in the United States. And this tournament is actually the last international tournament for all these teams before US before they play in the World Cup, because all three teams have qualified as hosts. So I mean, yeah, they're young players trying to make a name for themselves, trying to find their way, assure their spot on the roster. Some of the breakouts, Malik Tillman, who scored 3 goals in the group stage. Some other guys as well. I believe their goaltender Matt Freese is making a push for the roster as well. I believe Patrick. I don't know how you say his last name, but I don't even want to try Arungamang or something like that. He's he's been a solid player for the U.S., but they're going with a whole lot of new guys. I'm not even gonna try to say that, but Luca De La Torre, Brendan Aronson. I believe Aronson's actually from like New Jersey or something like that too. So those are some of the names that are new and trying to make a huge impact on the States. But in terms of their actual results here, Malik Tillman and Diego Luna have really made a name for themselves. They are going to be on the roster next year for sure. In the group stage itself, the men's team, they were struggling against better opponents. They lost 4 straight in games. Going back to the CONCACAF Nations semifinal, they lost to Panama, Canada, Turkey, Switzerland. They got shut out 4-0. But playing some of these weaker teams in this tournament has definitely improved them. They beat Trinidad and Tobago 5-0 to open up group play. They beat Saudi Arabia 1-0, Haiti 2-1. So they're undefeated, 3 clean sheets for the States, the Stars and Stripes. I mean, not necessarily a hard group, but they're off to the knockout stage. Going to be competing for another Gold Cup trophy, which is always good. So I mean, outside of in this competition, the U.S. might be one of the top teams, if not the top team. But Mexico and Canada also, pretty solid teams as well. So they're gonna have to get through all of that. Costa Rica's often a pesky side. Not really like one of the top teams, but pretty close oftentimes. So they're gonna have to get by Costa Rica in this, and then they're also gonna probably have to play Canada and Mexico in that order. So they're gonna have to go against all of the best teams in the conference. And given that this is basically a B team, I mean, if they're able to win it, it would be pretty good. I mean, Canada made quite a run last summer into the knockout stage of the Copa America, which basically included all the North America and South America. Argentina ended up winning that 1-0 against Colombia, but Canada made it to the semifinals, losing to Argentina 2-0. So they had a big run. So I mean, that's gonna be a tough one as well. But that basically that basically sums that up. Looks like U.S., Canada, and Mexico. We're gonna see them in there. But a big thing that doesn't typically happen all that often, and especially in the United States, is a Club World Cup featuring the best teams around the world, all in the United States. So you're getting to see very interesting matchups like the MLS going against some of the best clubs in Europe. So my friend Matt Mangum, who covers a lot of soccer, he actually was able to provide us with some very useful information. He's been going to some games, writes for Hudson River Blue, and also part of WRC the Targum. So a big soccer guy. He went to a couple games at MetLife. He took note of the crowd being very, the crowds in this tournament have been very electric, no matter what part of the world they come from. I mean, South America, you have the Palmeiras, who are, I believe, from Brazil. You have Al Ahly, which is, I believe, from Saudi Arabia, some of those clubs. I mean, the heat and the weather have not always been friendly, but the fan experience looks like they've been pretty good. MetLife has got an average of 35 to 40,000 fans. That's about half the stadium. I guess some of the interesting stuff of this, FC Porto going down the group stage, Inter Miami advancing to the knockout stage, which I feel like is absolutely huge because they have Lionel Messi and MLS. The three teams in the tournament, the Sounders having a tough group, getting eliminated. LAFC not looking great, but Inter Miami really starring for Major League Soccer, who's competing with these other leagues to earn themselves respect on the big stage, on the global stage of soccer. Typically not known as one of the stronger leagues in the world, but adding the star power of Messi and Suarez, who I believe had a goal in that game against Palmeiras I was watching, is pretty big. They also beat 2-1. They beat Porto 2-1. Messi had a free kick, which was a pretty nice goal. I did see that one as well. And then another storyline, we talked about Auckland City getting humiliated as a semi-pro team competing against the best in the world, but they ended up with a draw against one of the other teams, Boca Juniors, which is a professional team, one of the best, although they also didn't make it out the group stage. So definitely like a big honor for them to be able to compete with the top side. Atletico Madrid ended up getting eliminated. Palmeiras set for a big matchup against Botafogo. I believe both of those. I believe Botafogo is an Argentinian club and Palmeiras is Brazilian. So big South American clash in Philadelphia. That one's going to be exciting. Looking forward to like the knockout stage of this tournament for sure. Seeing the best of the world, the best clubs in the world going at it. Just to look at this knockout stage a little bit further. We've got some good ones ahead of us. Obviously, I think the highlight for U.S. fans in particular and just soccer fans in general is PSG going against Inter Miami. PSG is the top club in Europe. They won the Champions League, going against MLS's finest, Lionel Messi. So my friend Matt predicts Messi will score a goal, but PSG will come back in the second half. Other teams that are still in this competition: Bayern Munich, Real Madrid, Man City, Chelsea, Benfica, Inter, Milan. So really all the clubs around the world that have a big U.S. fan. Juventus is in this. I think that's where Ronaldo still plays, or he might be in Saudi Arabia now. But the U.S. has a lot of soccer fans. A lot of them end up following international teams and making them their own, even more than the MLS. So it's going to be really cool to see all those big clubs squaring off against each other. To determine a winner of this tournament. We'll see what ends up happening, but I'm really I'm looking forward to seeing what happens. The predictions are Inter Milan, Man City, Botafogo, Benfica, PSG, Bayern, Real Madrid, and Dortmund will be the ones advancing out of this. And that sounds pretty accurate, but I'm really looking forward to seeing this Club World Cup goes down or go down. I feel like PSG versus Inter Miami is going to be a huge one, especially with the MLS on the map. And then we'll see what happens from there. Obviously, Man City is going to want to defend their title as the last Club World Cup champions. But yeah, that's pretty much what I got for that. And then finally, I guess to end off here, women's soccer. Women's soccer is playing some friendlies. I did want to talk about Riley Tiernan's performance in the NWSL because she's I wrote an article for on the Banks on this. She's one of the top scorers in the league in her first year. I believe she already had like 6 or 7 goals. And I wrote this article a few weeks ago, so she's definitely up there.
I
What do you think
she was going to be
that?
like a bona fide star coming out of Rutgers. I mean, with what she did for the Scarlet Knights, like I think we knew that something was there,
Yeah, I mean, she was, I believe, one of the top goal scorers at Rutgers, top assist maker as well. But I mean, as good as she was at Rutgers, and she was very good. Like I don't know that like people really expected her to come on the scene the way she did for Angel City. She leads all rookies in scoring. I think she won back-to-back rookies of the month. I think she has like 6 goals on the season, maybe 7 by now. So I mean, it's just sensational, like what she's been able to do as a part of the NWSL. She's also been receiving call-ups to the national team or the U23 women's national team, which is, I think, the first youth team. Basically, like after that, it's the women's senior team, which I also wanted to talk about. But she's absolutely representing Rutgers well. And speaking of that women's team, a lot of new players, similar to the men's team, they're also tinkering with their lineup for the Women's World Cup in 2027 under new manager Emily Hayes. Some of the newer players making their debuts: Lily Real, Claudia Dickey, Jordan Bug, Avery Patterson scoring her first international goal yesterday. The second goal coming from Sam Coffey, and then a return for Rose Lavelle. Soccer fans might know her from injury, scoring a goal and having an assist, and then Alyssa Thompson with a long goal with a dribble leading up into a shot. Absolutely fantastic highlight. So the U.S. defeating Ireland in a friendly 4-0. They have another one coming up against Ireland and Canada in summer action. So it looks like they're really trying to get new players into this lineup. Obviously, some of their best players from the last World Cup have retired, like Alex Morgan, Megan Rapinoe, a lot of the franchise legends. So they're looking for players to kind of make their way into the lineup. Obviously, they have young stars like, they have Lavelle, Thompson, Sophia Smith have been very good for this team, but they're looking for others to join this lineup. So looks like the friendlies are going well, which is always good. And yeah, I mean, their only recent loss was a 2-1 friendly to Brazil, which is also one of the best soccer teams in the world on the women's side, just as it usually is on the men's side. My favorite soccer player growing up and still is Neymar. I've always really liked him. I like Messi a lot too, but I don't know. For some reason, I've always liked Neymar at the top. But yeah, and then in terms of the World Cup next year, I mean, the U.S. The Men's World Cup, U.S., Canada, and Mexico hosting it. I feel like the U.S. still has a lot of work to do to really be competitive with the top teams in the world. I feel like they really struggled last summer, but they're starting to find their own this year. But we'll have to see how that goes. I mean, they're going to bring in their senior lineup like Pulisic, McKinney, all the guys playing in Europe, and quite a lot of them are playing in Europe now, which is a good sign. But at the same time, I mean, these South American clubs, these European or countries, like they're a step up typically than the U.S. So, I mean, hopefully they can gain some ground between now and then. But I'm really excited to see what the World Cup is going to be like. Obviously heat, weather, public transportation. I mean, this is kind of like the Club World Cup has basically kind of been like a trial run for the actual World Cup in a way. Seeing how fans traveling from all over the world, seeing logistics, what things are going to be like. The only difference is probably going to be that every stadium is going to be absolutely packed for the World Cup, which has not really been exactly the case in the Club World Cup, because that it really is the biggest tournament in all sports, and people are going to be there from all around the world and all over the U.S. And just like this year, the Club World Cup, I believe the semis and final are at MetLife. I believe the actual World Cup has, I believe, one of the semifinals and the final at MetLife. So for soccer fans in this area in particular, it's going to be really exciting to be able to see that our stadium here is going to get a lot of great action on the biggest stage.
Definitely.
Yeah, no, I'm really looking forward to the World Cup being hosted in this country, and some quality soccer. I mean, the Club World Cup coming down to an end, as well as the women's team, the Gold Cup, the men's team. So definitely a lot to watch for if you're a soccer fan, between the three of those teams for the U.S. and also just the world's best soccer clubs going at it. That's also a lot of fun. But that's gonna do it here for this episode of Sports Vibe. We talked a lot of soccer, a lot of Stanley Cup, NHL. I keep mixing up the NHL with the Stanley Cup, but NBA, Stanley Cup, soccer, the draft, all the reactions, a little bit of a look ahead to Summer League. But yeah, that's pretty much gonna do it here. We'll probably end up having an episode off our weekly schedule, but with Summer League coming up, with the finals of these tournaments coming up, Matt has told me that he wants to come on to discuss some of the soccer stuff in more detail. But that's going to do it for today. We'll see you when we see you next time. And to debut my new catchphrase for Sports Vibe, the vibes are always high on Sports Vibe.
Good day, guys.